we're back with 843 TV, and now I have Patrick Hill here talking because I'm excited to hear. The Beaufort is doing amazing things, number one, but the other thing we're talking now about is the broadband and having that be very much part of the communications for the residents on the islands, correct?
Correct.
So Patrick, you're going to tell us a little bit about what this new sort of initiative that is happening, but before we go there, we did learn a few things about communicating and having social interaction, and we found out that COVID also played a big part in how people were isolated, and you recognize that there's a need that having the smaller islands that are traditionally not habited with a lot of people, but we need to be able to communicate with them, such as the education. When kids were now locked down at home, the families that did not have the internet ability, those kids were not able to really have interactive classrooms, correct?
Correct.
And then off camera, we also talked about medical, we all do the telemedical we do, and couldn't have access to that. And then the other thing we found out is that people couldn't even FaceTime. They had no social interaction with families. So that seemed to be part of this whole process of what we're doing?
Correct. The COVID pandemic really helped accelerate and draw attention to the need for broadband in some of the more rural areas of Beaufort County. Pre-COVID, we talked about it and we worked to try to get broadband out to St. Helena Island, but because of COVID, really council members started focusing heavily on what can we do to get broadband everywhere.
So what islands are we talking about?
St. Helena Island is, when we look at the Office of Regulatory Staff, they provided maps of where broadband is located. St. Helena Island, really along Seaside Road and going down towards Fort Fremont, a lot of that area it doesn't have very high-speed internet. We also looked at Seabrook. A lot of that area doesn't have high-speed internet.
So those two places in particular right now?
In particular, yes. Okay. Those are the 90 to 95% of all of Beaufort County has broadband, which is great. Just those areas are where it's lacking. So
now that we know it's lacking, now we need to do something. So you're aligning yourself with Hargray?
Correct, yes. Hargray is working to secure the USDA grant for broadband. That's a grant provided by the state that goes to internet providers. And what we can do as a county is we can work with local leaders to determine how having broadband in these rural areas are going to help. Whether it's driving economics or helping education or helping medicine, we can craft that story to help kind of put a little push behind our grant application.
Well, okay. Then, so as our audience wants to know a little bit more about this, I mean, the dollars are being funded and the grants are being, so tell us a little bit more about that. Everybody's always wondering, well, how are they going to pay for this? What is this going to happen?
Well, the grants come from the state and they're distributed to the internet providers because the county, Beaufort County Council is not a internet provider. So the broadband providers will create the applications. They will get the funds from the state. It'll be up to us to help push that through with crafting that good story of how it's going to help Beaufort County.
Right. So how do residents help? I mean, do you know, have you earmarked the residents? You know exactly who the population on the islands you go to?
We do. We have a pretty good idea. There is a link that's provided on the Beaufort County website. It's called I Need Internet, and if you click on that, you can fill it out and put your address on there if you have poor internet, and we can use that information to supply the state maps with help kind of narrowing down exactly what streets and what areas and what families don't have internet. There are literally thousands and thousands of people that have filled it out already, but it never hurts to fill it out as often as you can if you need internet.
I was just going to ask you how many people have, just filled out the application, and how many people are looking for this too?
I don't have the exact numbers on that. That all goes to the state, but from the buzz around it is pretty high. So.
Okay, so as a resident, you have in those Sea Islands and have ability to get the broadband. That's terrific. Now, timeline for implementation.
I think the funds are going to be awarded, I believe, in April. Again, these come from the state to the internet providers, so we're kind of out of the loop a little bit on it. But I believe the USDA grant applications have to be supplied by in the month of April, and I do not know when that money will be awarded to the internet providers if they get it.
Yeah, so we don't have a timeline. We don't know when this service, it will take about 6 months or so for the service to be, are we talking about they have to lay down some lines?
Yeah, then they're going to have to, once they get the money, they got to do the construction. This is laying fiber along the sides of the road, so they're going to have to bore a conduit, and then they lay the fiber through. And that's how they get it to the families.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I'm excited to hear about this. I mean, Beaufort County, you guys, I mean, having my conversations with everybody today, it's thriving and they're paying attention to their residents. And, you know, Patrick, nice to meet you, and I wish you all the best in this project.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's nice to meet you.
And I want to thank you so much for joining me. This is 843 TV, where communities come to speak. I'll see you next time.